Hi guys, I'm Ivory and welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be doing a 2-day wear test on the Colourpop No Filter Foundation. I'll be showing you how it applies initially on the face as well as checking in throughout the day to show you how it wears over time. On the first day of this wear test, half of my face I'm going to be adding a primer and then the other half I'm just going to put it right on top of my moisturized skin. And I will also do half my face with a brush and then half my face with a microfiber sponge just to show you how it builds up with two different applicators. And then depending on the results of the first day, which is today, I will take that information and then apply it to the second day, and then I will also be applying powder underneath. This is a very common tip for anyone with really oily skin. Putting powder underneath your foundation helps prolong your oils from coming through so that you stay matte for a longer period of time. And the second day will also be when I show you what the foundation looks like in natural lighting, just because things do look a little bit different in studio lights versus like outside. The timestamps for each of the days will be in my description box below so that you don't have to be skipping around figuring out what you want to see. So I just made it super convenient for you guys. And for anyone that is new here, I have both oily and acne prone skin. So all of my wear tests are geared towards people with very similar skin types. If you find that this wear test was helpful, I will link up here a playlist of all the other foundations that I've tried and done wear tests on. And of course, before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every single week. And also be sure to follow me on my social media. Everything is _ivorypcherry. So on this side of my face, I'm going to be adding a primer. I'm going in with the L'Oreal Infallible Matte Lock Primer. I used this in my last wear test and I actually did notice a difference. And then for this side of my face, I'm going to be using a brush. This is the Sigma F80 Flat Kabuki brush. And on the other side, I'm going to go in with my Juno & Co microfiber sponge. Both are really good applicators, so I just wanted to show you a side-by-side comparison of how they apply with each one. And the shade that I'm applying is Medium Dark 120. I did get this online because I can't find Colourpop foundations anywhere in store. I really hate picking foundations online. I just always second guess myself. I have tried the Colourpop No Filter Stick Foundation and I really hated it. And in my experience, Colourpop's foundation shade match is really awful. When I matched myself when I bought the foundation stick, it gave me a foundation that was super light and it was super yellow versus like a golden. So it was really off, but the foundation sucks anyways, even if it did match me. And then when I bought this foundation, I shade matched again, and I was about to add the shade that it gave me and add it to my cart, and then I saw that the model was Asian and I stopped immediately. You guys know because I joke about it all the time, but every single time I see the model that they use for the foundation and they match me and it's an Asian person, I can't trust it. And I ended up going up a shade darker, and I'm really glad that I did because it matches me way better. Can you imagine if I actually followed their advice? I would be really screwed right now. And to be honest, I wasn't even planning on buying this foundation. I had no intention whatsoever, especially since it's been around for a while now. But I was ordering something else on Colourpop and they were about to hit me with that shipping fee if I didn't spend $30 or more. I know that free shipping is a scam and that's exactly what they wanted me to do, is buy more makeup, but I just feel like it was more on my terms, you know? Like even though I did exactly what they wanted me to do, I still feel like I won, like I beat the system. All right, so this is one layer. I definitely see more coverage on the sponge side. I can still see my skin peeking through from using a brush. The website said that the foundation is a buildable full coverage, which to me is just lingo for medium buildable. I would definitely agree with that. I feel like on a first coat, it covered a really good amount, especially since I broke out a lot this past week. I don't know what happened, but my face is especially red. It also said that it is a natural matte finish. I didn't even give you guys the information on this. I'm so sorry. First of all, this is glass, not plastic. It has 0.85 fluid ounces, so it's a little less than the standard, and it retails for $12. But like I said, it claims that it's a natural matte finish. I can see that. It's not super luminous, but it's not like a dead matte. It's like a satin matte finish. And this is definitely something that I need to set because my foundation is already rubbing off on my fingers. I'm gonna go ahead and add a second layer only on my cheeks because I feel like that's where I need the most coverage. Okay, so this is adding a second layer on just the cheek region. This is definitely a coverage that I think is acceptable. I wouldn't go in with another layer after this. That being said, in most cases, I prefer the sponge side just because I really love how that microfiber sponge makes things way more full coverage, and it still stands true with this foundation. I definitely prefer the coverage on this side, and I do think that this side is worse too. I don't know what happened this week, but I had a major breakout and all my acne kind of banded together and they were like, you know what, the real estate on this face is just so expensive. So they all kind of just decided to room together and stay in this vicinity. So even though my acne is really bad in this video, just know that it was way worse this whole week. I waited all week for it to die down as much as it could. So be thankful that I spared you from the worst of it. I do still see the acne coming through a little bit, but it's just, this is huge, okay? So I don't think any foundation really is gonna handle this super well. So I think this is probably the best that I can make of it. And on the other side, same thing. I think given the situation that it looks about as best as it can be. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of my face, but as always, all of the products that I use will be in my description box below. Okay, so now that the rest of my makeup is on, I honestly don't really see a difference between the brush and the sponge side. They look pretty much the same when you build everything else on top of it. I would say that the foundation looks pretty good. I would say the only issue really is right here, but the acne is just really big right there. I don't think there's anything that can really save it. It's also not really settling super nice on top of it, but the skin on top of it right now is pretty crusty, so it's just kind of bunching there. So it's my skin. It's not the foundation, it's my skin. It is kind of settling in my fine lines a little bit, and it does look a little bit patchy right here in this forehead region. It's not like the best looking on my forehead. It's not horrible. I really am being a little bit nitpicky here just because I have so many really great foundations, but it is something worth noting, so we'll see how that wears over time. So that is it for the first impression. So I'm gonna check in a couple more hours to show you how it looks. All right, so it is now the 7-hour mark, and I actually really like the way the foundation is looking as a whole. Yes, I am shiny, and I would say that primarily it's my nose region. If I wasn't filming, this is really the only area that I feel like I would blot. Everywhere else, I feel like looks fine, and I actually like it better now that my oils have come through versus the first impression. The way that it laid on my skin, and then when I added everything on top, I don't know, I felt like especially on my forehead, it was really emphasizing every single line that I had in my forehead, and now that it's had some time to really melt together, I don't feel like it looks as emphasized. And as far as the coverage on my acne, I do feel like I'm losing some coverage right here because I can see the blemish underneath right now. But on this side where I don't have a giant boil sticking out of my face, I feel like it's holding on quite well. I do notice on my forehead, do you see right here, and there's like this line on my forehead. This really doesn't ever happen with any foundation, so this is actually a first for me. I feel like the sides of my nose look pretty good, like it's not collecting in there, and there aren't like pools of oil or cakiness. And as far as separating on my chin and my T-zone area, I don't think it looks that bad. I would say that it looks pretty much the same as it did when I initially put on the foundation. I do feel like I'm commenting on every single little thing because I'm so up close to my face, but honestly, a normal person is like a foot and a half away from my face, and from that distance, like just looking in my mirror right now, and it's about a foot away, I think it actually looks pretty good, apart from the crack in my forehead. But other than that, I would say everywhere else I think looks great. I will check in a couple more hours to give you my final thoughts for the first day. Okay, so it is officially the end of day 1 of this wear test. I'm sorry if you can hear my air conditioning. It goes off at night so that when we go to bed, it's nice and cold. Even though I am kind of oily from this distance, it actually looks pretty good. There are definitely things that I don't like about this foundation. First of all, on my chin area, it is starting to crack and break up a little bit. And same with the upper lip region. I feel like my skin is coming through. Hopefully you can see. I'm sorry you have to look at this. I know it's super gross, but the skin on top is very thin and dry, and the foundation is really clinging onto that, so that's making it extra unattractive. But some good things about this foundation is even though my nose is oily, everything is still holding on pretty well, I would say, and there's no pools of oil in between the cracks of my nose. And apart from this and this region, I would say that everywhere else it's holding on pretty well. And as long as no one is like super close to your face, I think you're good. As far as the side with primer versus no primer, I guess I do feel like this side is a little bit more matte, but I don't feel like it's super significant. You could probably get away with not using primer, but I do feel like the primer side is less shiny, just a teeny bit. I'm gonna go ahead and use some blotting sheets to absorb the oils on my face. I will link these in my description box below. And of course, the reason why I do this and then show you again what the foundation looks like after I blot is to see if after it absorbs oil, will it make the foundation look really bad? Just how much foundation is it actually gonna pick up to the point where there's no foundation left? So that's what I'm gonna be looking out for. All right, so I went ahead and blotted, and my foundation now looks like I blotted. It picked up foundation here and there, and now there's just like patches of skin coming through, and I'm not in love with it. You can see on my nose that it's like splotchy now, and especially here, it already looked like really worn, and it looks even more worn now. And on my forehead, like right above my eyebrow and right here, there's just no more foundation. I am hoping that if I apply powder underneath that it will help the foundation stay together better than it did today. That did happen with another foundation of mine, so maybe it will have the same type of effect. So from the results of today's wear test, I definitely will be adding primer tomorrow to the entire face, and of the two applicators, as usual, it was no surprise to me, I will be applying my entire face with the Juno & Co microfiber sponge. So that is it for today's wear test, so I will see you tomorrow so we can do this all over again. All right, so it is now day 2 of this wear test. I actually waited a couple days after the first wear test because my acne was starting to get very painful when I was touching it and when I was putting stuff on top of it. So I made the decision to put a pause on the wear test, wait a couple days till my acne settles down a little bit, and then continue. It's looking a little bit better. It's not the best, but it is less painful to apply makeup, so I think we should be okay. Just in case, maybe you should do just a quick little prayer for my skin right now. But like I said, on the first day, on my entire face, I will be adding the L'Oreal Infallible Matte Lock Primer to my entire face. And then before adding my foundation, I am putting a thin layer of the Dermablend Translucent Loose Setting Powder right underneath. First applying it with a sponge on the areas that I am the oiliest, and then for the rest of my face, I will apply a thin layer with a big fluffy brush. For people with oily skin that say that this trick doesn't work, I will warn you, the amount of powder you use and the type of powder you use does matter. If you use a powder that is not super finely milled, or you add too much powder to your face before applying your foundation, the powder can cake up under your skin and it'll create like these little balls, almost like little pills from a couch. So if this trick hasn't been working out for you, try switching to a different powder or try applying less. And then after the powder's down, I'm going to be blending my foundation with my Juno & Co microfiber sponge, adding one coat everywhere and then a second coat only on the areas where I feel like I need a little bit more coverage, just to avoid cakiness. All right, so it is now the 5-hour mark, and I didn't show you what my makeup looked like after all my makeup was done and it was like fresh, because it looked basically the same as it first did when I wore this foundation on the first day after I added everything. So I wanted to avoid any redundancy, and as promised, for all my future wear tests, I wanted to include a little snippet of me in natural lighting. It's quite cloudy today. I think it's gonna rain, so I'm kind of trying to wrap this up. So this is what the foundation looks like after 5 hours. I feel like it looks a lot better in my T-zone, and it's not breaking up as badly on my chin area. I did notice on the first day that I wore this though that nothing was starting to really happen until maybe the 7-hour mark. So I don't think it's really bad, but what I do notice is that right here in my smile line, there is a little bit of cracking, and on the first day there was a crease right here on my forehead, and I'm starting to see it. I think it's gonna happen again. But as far as oiliness goes, I don't feel like I'm very oily. I think the coverage is pretty good over my acne, and it's not like bunching anywhere right now, except I should say on my nose. In my nose right now, it's kind of dry because of the products that I'm using for my acne. So only my nostrils are dry, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of clinging on the dry patches that are inside of my nose. But everywhere else where I don't have dry patches, it looks pretty good. That is it for now, so I will check in a couple more hours to conclude my thoughts and opinions on this foundation. All right, it is now the 10-hour mark and the end of day 2, and to save time on this side of my face, I went ahead and blotted. I don't really see a big difference between the sides, so I actually feel like the powder did a really great job at keeping me matte for a longer period of time. And I also feel like the areas where I felt like the foundation was breaking up, it held the foundation together way better the second time around, so I'm really liking it a lot more on this day. I do want to note one thing, so this side is untouched, and you can see like there's a little bit of oil and shine, and it is breaking up a little bit, but this side where I blotted, it's a lot worse. You see I have dry skin right there and it's like really clinging onto it, and now it looks like tissue paper. And this whole area just doesn't look super flattering. As far as where it used to break up, it looked way worse yesterday. This crack that I usually get from foundations, it did appear. And the crack on my forehead, I thought it was gonna come, and I was right. It's not as bad as the first day, but I do still see it. So would I recommend this foundation? That's the big question. I don't think I would wear this for more than 7 hours. I feel confident in 7 hours, but if I'm gonna be truthful, I feel like this is more so gonna be a foundation that I mix into really good foundations, just so that the good foundations will kind of increase the longevity of it. But I don't see myself trusting this foundation enough to wear it alone. I did think the coverage was really nice, and other than my usual problem areas, overall on the face, I felt like it held together pretty well, especially with the powder underneath. The price is pretty good, and I did like the finish of it. The main critiques I have are longevity. 10 hours is usually my baseline, which may be a lot for people, so if you think that's a lot of time, then I think that this is okay for you. But if 10 hours is your minimum and you have skin very similar to mine, I don't feel entirely comfortable recommending this to you. And of course, another issue I had is when I touched up on my nose, it looks like I touched up, but that's pretty much the only area where it's a dead giveaway. So maybe blot everywhere else except the nose area, or perhaps right after just get a sponge and kind of blend it again, just so that you have like an even surface of foundation. So that is it for this review. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and feel free to comment down below what foundation you think I should try next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.